Story 1. Never use wet pot holders. The heat from the oven can cause the water to flash into steam, causing serious burns to your hands. Story 2. Here is a friendly reminder to verify any information you see here, because there are likely to be inaccuracies. Story 3. Pouring water on a grease fire will make it much worse before it gets better. Story 4. For someone living in an active lifestyle, initially going for short, gentle walks several times per week can bring considerable health benefits and, for many people, is more sustainable than starting an intense gym routine. The slogan "No pain, no gain" has discouraged many people from doing anything, making them think they must suffer to see benefits. Base endurance training feels like a gentle, never-ending warm-up regardless of fitness level. Fitness only determines the speed at that perceived effort. For many people, that pace is simply a walk. It increases fat metabolism, muscle stamina, and the number of capillaries in working muscles, improves recovery capacity, and lowers resting heart rate and blood pressure. Story 5. You are not supposed to flush tampons or pads. A few years ago, a tattoo parlor employee posted that they had to put up a sign saying not to flush these items because otherwise the restrooms would have to be closed and reserved for employees. People were angry and said that is how they were taught, even though the packaging clearly states these products are not flushable. Story 6. Understanding the basics of probability and statistics would help in many areas. For example, it can discourage gambling and make it much easier to recognize misleading studies. Story 7. A pickle with a bottle of water hydrates better than water alone. If you have a fever and dehydration that does not improve despite drinking a lot of water, try a pickle. If you feel weak and tired for no apparent reason, try a pickle. A pickle contains more electrolytes and minerals than about 8 sports drinks. I have done this for years and it has never failed me. When I am sick, a pickle helps. Sincerely, a person with autoimmune disease. Story 8. Basic car/truck maintenance. You do not need to know how to rebuild an engine, know how to check and top up fluids, keep filters clean, replace windshield wipers, and maintain proper tire pressure to keep the vehicle running well and save money. You can save more by learning how to replace fluids and filters yourself. Understand which noises are normal and which require attention. Buy an onboard diagnostics 2-code reader or a vehicle-specific diagnostic tool such as a Volkswagen and Audi diagnostic tool, and learn how to use it so you know quickly why the check engine light is on and how serious the warning is. This can prevent paying a diagnostic fee only to find a simple fuse needs replacement. When buying a vehicle, make sure it has a second key and obtain one if it does not. Factor the replacement key cost into your offer. A replacement key often costs between $400 and $700. When taking out-of-town trips, take your second key with you just in case. Learn your maintenance schedule and the difference between manufacturer-required maintenance and optional dealer-added maintenance, which is often used to inflate the final bill. Replace an aged battery before it fails and leaves you stranded. About half of roadside assistance calls are for dead batteries. Batteries typically last 3 to 8 years depending on quality, use, and climate, but they rarely last the life of the vehicle. The more you know about your vehicle's operation, the cheaper, safer, and more reliable it will be. Story 9. Human resources does not work for you. It works for the company and puts company interests first. Story 10. Formal logic. Spotting errors in reasoning and fallacies. Story 11. Saving energy and saving money are two very different things. Many energy efficiency measures only make sense at commercial scale, and the average consumer will not see a return on investment. Story 12. Leaving a negative review of a business in Dubai can get you removed from an airplane and detained for questioning. Story 13. Everyone learns this eventually, though you do not know it when you are young. You will lose everything you love, and if you do not lose it, it will lose you. Few things in life are certain, but this is one. Appreciate what you have while you have it. Do not assume anything will last. Learn to smile because it happened, not to cry because it is gone. Story 14. Medicine is not magical. It contains substances that fight the condition you have. Therefore, it is unwise and dangerous to take medicine when you do not need it. Chemicals are not a synonym for everything that is harmful. Many harmless and essential things are chemicals. basic cooking skills and the use of spices, how animals are treated before they are packaged. Story 15. A small lever on a vehicle's steering column is used to indicate whether you will turn left or right so nearby drivers can see. Story 16. Life comes at you fast. If you don't stop and look around every once in a while, you may miss it. Story 17. Probably at least a third of the time on social media, you are replying to non-human accounts, disinformation, clickbait, rage posts, or algorithmic manipulation. Story 18. The Affordable Care Act and Obamacare are literally the same damn thing. Story 19. If you have not cooked fish in a while and your house or apartment smells like fish, you may have an electrical issue, up to and including wires so hot that they are melting the insulation. This happened at my house earlier this year. Story 20. Boys, please check your testicles. Girls, please check your breasts. If you have not already, this is a small reminder. Story 21. Cardiopulmonary resuscitation often breaks ribs. People do not wake up from cardiopulmonary resuscitation the way they do in films and on television. Even with timely cardiopulmonary resuscitation, survival rates are very low, roughly 9% according to the American Heart Association. For people in their 80s, it drops to about 2%. Survival and no permanent brain damage or preservation of quality of life are not the same. The vast majority of survivors do not escape brain injury or other debilitating injuries that may be permanent. No one wants to lose their parents or grandparents, but it is important for them and for you to have a realistic understanding of what a full code, meaning do everything, entails and how it may prevent them from ever returning home even if it prolongs life. See the NPR article for more information. Story 22. The value of time, not just money. I grew up poor and I am still lower middle class. When I need something, my first instinct is to try to find it at a thrift store, which is more environmentally friendly. It took me a long time to realize that often it is better to just order that $30 item than to spend hours trying to save $20 by hunting for it. The same goes for tools. You can waste hours trying to use the wrong tool instead of spending $10 or $20 to buy the right one. Story 23. Most people are kind and helpful, and much of the world is peaceful and safe. Do not live your life in fear. Story 24. Here is my automotive tip. Keep a set of tools in your car. If all your tools are on a shelf in your garage, they might as well be on the moon when you break down in the middle of nowhere. Story 25. How to give first aid, including the Heimlich maneuver and cardiopulmonary resuscitation. Story 26. If a policy produces bad results, the policy is flawed. Do not let them use rhetoric to obscure the results. Story 27. I work in the gas industry and there are several safety points I tell people that might not be common sense but are important. Even if you do not have gas at home, read these because if your neighbors have gas it can affect you. Gas smell. Natural gas has a strong rotten egg odor. Mercaptan is added to natural gas to make that distinct smell. Gas, fire, and explosions. 1. If you smell gas in your house, do not open windows, doors, vents, or other openings to air it out. Gas only ignites within a specific air-to-gas ratio. If there is too much gas or too little gas, it will not ignite. If the concentration is high, opening the house can create a flammable mixture. If you smell gas, leave immediately, get everyone out and call emergency services. 2. If you smell gas in or near your house, do not open or close your garage door until emergency services have checked the area. Many garage doors can spark when they operate, and that has caused fires and explosions. For example, a household smelled gas, evacuated, and called emergency services. Firefighters were told not to enter and not to open the garage. The garage was opened anyway to make access more convenient, which caused an explosion and fatalities. How to spot gas leaks. Discolored grass. Gas follows the path of least resistance through soil. Persistent yellow or dying patches can indicate a leak. Call to have it checked. Bubbling. Less common, but high pressure or loose soil can cause bubbling at the surface. Illustrative story. A homeowner across the street had a leak that followed an underground path into a neighbor's yard. It took several calls before a technician checked the neighborhood and found the leak. There was so much gas built up that ignition could have caused a large explosion. Do not tamper with meters or regulators. Depending on local regulations, you may have access to your meter and regulator, but there are many pressures, valve types, and vent types. Do not block them, do not tamper with valves, do not paint them, and do not enclose them. People do this frequently and put themselves and others in danger. Story 28. Most people are unaware that the internet is a source of nearly infinite knowledge. You can learn almost anything for free. Story 29. Basic medical skills, such as the Heimlich maneuver and how to properly perform cardiopulmonary resuscitation, are especially important for children. These actions may not always save a life, but they can. I saved my son from choking on 3 separate occasions. Story 30. Policing and the law on television, shown in 1 hour, are not real life. From arrest to conviction, it can take years. Story 31. Maybe not most people, but an alarming number of people in the United States refuse raises or promotions because they think they will lose money by moving into a higher tax bracket. That is not how tax brackets work. They are marginal. Only the additional dollars above a bracket threshold are taxed at the higher rate. Earlier dollars remain taxed at the lower rates. It is almost impossible to lose money on income taxes by accepting a raise or a bonus. The only realistic way accepting more income could leave you worse off is if the increase pushes you above a threshold for certain government benefits, causing a net loss when those benefits are reduced or lost. Story 32. For those of us in our 30s and 40s, most back pain, even scary episodes with slipped or herniated discs, can be addressed at home with simple stretches and exercises. If you're actively in pain, your muscles are in spasm and you should avoid much activity while the pain is intense. However, do not remain completely still for long periods. Get pain under control with over-the-counter medication. Be still while it hurts, but you can often find relief lying on your stomach with pillows under your hips or abdomen to take pressure off the lower back. When pain is severe, this is one of the few comfortable positions. Once you can do that, try lying on your back with your feet elevated, as if you are sitting in an invisible chair with a wall supporting your legs. Gentle side-to-side swaying within a comfortable range helps. These 2 positions are safer ways to ease an actively spasming back. When the spasm eases but you are still stiff and sore, walk as much as you can tolerate. This is counterintuitive, but increased blood flow helps recovery. You do not need intense exercise yet. Avoid stair machines or long flights of stairs. Move gently and increase activity gradually. As you become less sore, start stretches for your glutes and hips. The gluteal muscles connect to the lower back, so stretching them along with lower back stretches is important. A simple glute stretch you can do sitting in a sturdy chair. Cross one leg over the other so the ankle rests on top of the opposite knee. Gently press down on the raised knee, sit up slightly, and lean forward until you feel a stretch in your hips and glutes. Stop immediately if you feel numbness, tingling, pins and needles, or burning. Mild tugging, tightness, or muscle soreness is normal. If you cannot cross your leg without severe pain, skip this stretch for now. Aim to do it once a day, twice if possible. Also, bend at the waist and try to touch your toes, sitting if you feel unsteady. Tuck your chin toward your chest to increase the back stretch. This targets the hamstrings, which connect to the glutes and lower back. Next, do a standing forward bend only about a quarter of the way down, then add a pelvic tilt. Think of scooping with your waist, tilting the pelvis to lengthen the lower back. You will feel this in the spinal discs. It can be intense but effective for disc-related pain. Breathe steadily while you do it. Hold each stretch for at least 20 seconds and keep breathing. Start at the site of pain, the lower back, and gradually work up and down the chain of surrounding muscles to lengthen tightened areas for longer-lasting relief. The next step is to strengthen the glutes. Bodyweight squats can help. For now, focus on easing spasm and preparing your body to exercise. Walking is your friend. Even short, slow walks help. I am not a medical professional, just a middle-aged weekend warrior. If you are in debilitating pain, see a doctor or visit the emergency room, because inability to move after several days can indicate a serious problem and some movements can make it worse. For mild herniated discs and bulges, surgery can cause as many problems as it solves. Get moving gradually, listen to your body, and seek professional guidance when possible. If you lack access to care, These steps are how many minor back pain problems begin to improve. Taking a pain medication before stretching can reduce spasm and make movement easier. Story 33. The Control-Shift-T key combination reopens the last tab you closed. In a new browser window, it reopens all tabs you had open before closing the browser, even after a personal computer shutdown. Story 34. You can hum and whistle at the same time to make a cool sound. Story 35. If the speaker on your phone is loud in a public place where others can hear it, you are an asshole. Story 36. Multi-level marketing companies are still scamming job seekers, housewives, military spouses, and people with autism spectrum conditions, including those with Asperger's. Companies such as Amway, Monat, and Herbalife and other similar firms convince people they are entrepreneurs, while in fact most earn less than $5,000 per year and, in some cases, actually lose money. Story 37. Caving has a high rate of death and injury. Many of those who are injured or killed are beginners who are overly confident in their abilities. Story 38. America is going to pay the tariffs, not the other way around. Story 39. Most people cannot sew a button, hem a garment, or fix a hole, despite textiles producing an estimated 90 million tons of waste each year, not including packaging. Story 40. You can fit more trash into a trash can if you push it in a little. You do not have to leave your trash lying on the ground. Story 41. Understand how to use cleaning chemicals. I am a former housekeeping technician, and the number of people who overuse and misuse bleach is astounding. Many people do not know that hydrogen peroxide cleaners, while often preferable, can temporarily make your hands turn white. This can be painful if you overuse them, so wear gloves. Most glass cleaners are multipurpose formulas with a lower dilution. For light cleaning, glass cleaner is acceptable and leaves less residue. Story 42. People with depression often hide it from others. You can sometimes tell by looking at their eyes. Story 43. We are very fortunate to live in a time that allows us to double-check nearly all information we receive. Story 44. Do not be rude to one another. I believe many people do not know this. Story 45. Just because someone has a friendly conversation with you does not mean they are your friend. Story 46. You should not leave the bathroom exhaust fan on for long periods of time because it is a fire hazard. Story 47. Fact-checking. I do not mean this in a condescending way as in political talk. I mean that any time you come across information that could benefit your life, whether something simple like a minor home repair or something major like health or lifestyle advice, you should check multiple sources to assess how reliable the information is. I hear or read that most people say they do not know how to verify information or how to separate reliable sources from disinformation. Story 48. Next to the fuel gauge symbol on your car is an arrow indicating which side the fuel tank is on. Story 49. Please, for the love of God, finish your course of antibiotics, even if you feel better. Story 50. Hanlon's razor. Do not attribute to malice what can be easily explained by ignorance. Story 51. When taking out-of-town trips, take your second key with you in case you lock the first key inside your car. Do not leave the second key in your car. Story 52. You are not your current ideas, nor should you be. If you attach your identity to the way you think the world is or should be, you will struggle when you inevitably discover you are wrong, in part or in whole. It is better to be yourself without dogma so you can learn and grow, even if you consider yourself or are considered by others an expert. Story 53. Doctors don't know everything. Get a second, third, and fourth opinion. Story 54. Reading something on Wikipedia does not count as having done research. Story 55. Basic nutrition. Most adults are overweight. Poor nutrition, lack of knowledge about healthy eating, and insufficient exercise are among the leading causes of premature death and debilitating illnesses. Story 56. Know who your local representative is. Most of us live in representative democracies, so you must know your representatives to hold them accountable for their actions. Story 57. If you join a multi-level marketing company, you are virtually guaranteed to lose money. Story 58. No one remembers that embarrassing incident you had, the time you farted during a school group project meeting, the time you made a fool of yourself while drunk at a bar, the time your credit card was rejected at a coffee shop while a line looked on. Forget it. Story 59. Humility. Even the most average and completely forgettable people think they are something. Story 60. If you ever lose a finger while hiking, the finger bone can be cleaned and hollowed out to make a neat flute. I came up with the idea. Story 61. There is a lever on the left side of the steering wheel that signals other drivers when you intend to turn left or right. Story 62. Every adult reading this, especially if you are in your 20s or 30s and have chronic pain or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder or autism, should take a minute to test themselves for joint hypermobility. Joint hypermobility can be a marker of a connective tissue disorder, like Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which can have widespread and catastrophic effects on the body that tend to manifest in adulthood. Searching for the Baton score is a good place to start, as it is used diagnostically. Although its usefulness is debated, it is still a good starting point. My body started falling apart in my 30s after chronic pain in my teens and 20s. Doctors did not know what to do. I experienced joint dislocations, which I had not realized at the time and which felt like constant pain, fainting when I stood up, and being unable to eat more than a few bites without becoming physically ill. It could have been largely avoided if I had known when I was younger that I had hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which causes the body to produce defective collagen. Ehlers-Danlos syndrome in particular tends to be comorbid with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder and autism, and it has many comorbid conditions of its own. There is no cure. Ehlers-Danlos syndrome is a genetic disorder. There is hope, though. After more than 6 months with a hypermobility-aware physical therapist, which is important because I was injured by more than one regular physical therapist before due to lack of knowledge, I am no longer relying entirely on my wheelchair to get around. I no longer faint when I stand, my appetite has returned to normal, I can correct most of my own dislocations and there are fewer of them, and I have stopped taking the very strong opioid medication I was taking daily. I still have daily pain and flares, fast heart rate, fatigue, and other symptoms. Do not get to where I was. Please check your joints quickly. If you have party tricks with your joints or have always been naturally flexible, you should do some research. Stay in shape, take care of your body, and talk to your doctor if you can. Story 63. If you are driving in rainy conditions and your wipers are on, turn on your headlights regardless of the time of day. Headlights help others see you, especially truck drivers. Story 64. When you stop behind a car at a red light, you should be able to see its rear tires on the road. If it breaks down, you will have room to go around the vehicle. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.